All right, everybody. Welcome to our June brown bag. We're for RMS, and we're going to be today. I'm Dallas Carlisle with the RMS PMO. I'm going to hand it off over to our presenters today. But note that if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're also we have a spot for that and during the presentation, and then of course you can always reach out to us and then through email or what have you, and we can get an answer back to you that way as well. Anyway, I'm going to pass it off. So welcome to the training.
Okay, thank you, Dallas. Happy Wednesday, everybody. My name is Phil, and I will be delivering this month's brown bag training session. So in this month's brown bag, we're going to cover the steps needed to enter information and requirements for schedules in RMS. And as a reminder, this presentation is not meant to convey guidance on best practices, business processes, or policies that govern contract administration, and always check with your district for any deviations from this presentation. Okay, so USACE's primary goal is to obtain quality construction that's both on time and within budget. A schedule is a tool that manages the time specified for the completion of a contract. The development of a construction schedule is a very significant tool used in developing the overall project's construction duration. The schedule is refined throughout the budget and design phases of the project. After the awarding of the contractor is responsible for scheduling and tracking the project's progress to ensure the completion date is met. The contracting officer or administrative contracting officer / professional engineer in charge monitors the contractor's schedule to ensure compliance. Now, the project schedule should be detailed enough that allows both construction planning and management by the contractor and allows contract administration by the government. Changes that might impact progress must be acknowledged and managed to keep the schedule up to date and reflect the true progress of the project. Both the contractor and the government should review these potential delays and determine the most appropriate method to capturing its impact to the project. Requirements for a project schedule are listed in the following Federal Acquisition Requirements, or FAR clauses. I'm not going to read them word for word, but I encourage everyone to take the time to read and review them. As you can see on this slide and the next slide, the FAR clauses deal with schedules, time extensions, and liquidated damages construction. Okay, the RMS schedules screens allows government to check contractor activities and track progress. Contractors often use SDEF files to import schedules from their own internal software planning tools. The government needs to evaluate the contractor's schedule with these principles in mind. A schedule is only as good as the information on which it is based. Some work sequences of various trades occur repeatedly throughout the contract. Follow-on trades do not wait for the initial trades to complete before commencing the follow-on work. Different areas of the project are at different stages of completion within the sequence of work. Some contracts will have essential installations that must receive extra attention even when they are not on the critical path. Most of the activities may be very close to the critical path in terms of float time, since these activities closely precede or follow the activities on the critical path. Now, RMS provides 4 types of schedules for government review and analysis. We have activity schedules, milestone schedules, placement schedules, and features schedules. So let's start with the activity schedules. So to begin, you're going to open up your contract, and from the contract menu screen, you're going to select the Schedules tab, and then click on the Activity Schedule module. The Work Activity Schedule is a schedule used at the job site to forecast projected need dates for submittals, materials, equipment, work crews, testing schedules, and three-phase inspections. Now, there are two ways to utilize the activity schedule. You can manually enter the start and finish dates, or you can import the start and finish dates from the Network Analysis Schedule, otherwise known as the NAS. You do have the option to require the contractor to use the actual start and finish dates from the QC reports on the NAS. If desired, be sure to click on the box that says requires the contractor to use actual start and finish dates from the QC reports on the NAS. This activity schedule view that you see is for a contract that was set up to use a contractor's NAS, such as Primavera, through the SDEF, which stands for Standard Data Exchange Format. Activity numbers, or IDs, are assigned to each activity in the scheduling software and populate via the SDEF file into RMS, such as dates in the above screenshot. The actual start and finish dates can either come from inside of the daily report or from the NAS, depending on how the contract is set up in the Administration and Contract Setup module. While the early, late, start, and finish dates will only come from the NAS, the status will change when the actual start dates are entered. This is the activity schedule for a contract that is set up to manually enter a schedule. The user can set the scheduled start or scheduled finish by entering a date on the selected activity row. However, the actual start and finish dates come from the QC daily report. Okay, so let's move on to the milestone schedules. To get to the milestone schedules, again, open your contract, select the Schedules tab, and then click on the Milestone Schedule module. The most important schedule to the customer is the milestone schedule. A milestone schedule is simply a timeline that uses milestones to divide a project schedule into major phases. The milestone schedule contains milestones that control how other RMS modules function. You can change which milestones are displayed in the data grid by clicking on any one of the blue tiles in the header portion of the milestone schedule screen. Additionally, the milestone schedule is important for many USACE customers as it provides an overview of major events in the contract. The schedule not only includes major system milestones like the contract award date, the notice to proceed, the beneficial occupancy date, but it also includes important milestones entered by the customer, like partial turnover for installing customer furniture, scheduling user training classes, O&M turnover, etc. It is critical that actual dates for system milestones are entered in the milestone schedule, as these dates link to other modules and affect the functionality of other modules. For example, an actual date needs to be entered for the NTP acknowledged milestone to turn on the ability to enter QA/QC reports. Which milestones affect which modules of RMS will be described in further detail. The milestone schedule module in RMS reflects all the milestones included for the contract. Milestones can be described as either mandatory or optional. The RMS program includes mandatory milestones for all contracts. These cannot be changed or deleted. Now, a district may add mandatory milestones that will be included in all contracts in that district. These milestones can be viewed in the district library. Additionally, the local office can be used at the field office level for optional milestones. Now, local or contract milestones, users are also able to add milestones that are unique to a local office or contract. Local office milestones can be created in the local office. Contract-specific milestones can be created in the milestone schedule module for a particular contract. If created while in a particular contract, the milestones will not be listed in the local office, nor would they be available for other contracts. Now, district milestones can be found in the district library. The district can set milestones to be mandatory for all contracts in that district. And then lastly, you have system milestones, and they come from the RMS program and are mandatory fields to be completed for each contract. Now, system milestones have two phases, the construction phase and the post-construction phase. Now, in the construction phase, there are several milestones. You have the contract award, the NTP acknowledged, the construction start date, the red zone meeting date, contract required completion, and the construction completion. And there's a lot more detail and information for each one, and I'll let you read that when you get an opportunity. Now, in the post-construction phase, there are also several milestones. You have the beneficial occupancy date, the transfer document date, the contractor evaluation date, the AE evaluation date, contract physical completion, contractor final payment, and the project fiscal completion. Again, I'll let you read the specific information about each of those dates at your leisure. Okay, so this slide shows the RMS milestone and its corresponding P2 milestone. The thing to remember is that prior to the construction award, the system milestone dates are obtained from P2. After the award, the dates are sent from RMS to P2. And the transfer stops when the project fiscal completion date is entered in P2. Now remember, district and local milestones do not transfer to P2. Okay, so let's move on to placement schedule. To access the placement schedule, again, you're going to open up your contract, select the Schedules tab, and this time you'll click on the Placement Schedule module. The placement schedule tracks the dollar value completed over time for budget purposes and to ensure proper fiscal management of the contract. The progress schedule is concerned with the time that it takes to complete a contract and is tracked in the contract status module under the administration tab. Both progress and placement are tracked in RMS. Now, for your information, HQ USACE is revamping placement. Please contact your office administrator for more details on how to set up and utilize placement for your district. Now, if the contract has been added to the district fiscal year baseline placement, you'll notice that a fourth tab will show on the placement schedule view. And that fourth tab is called Actual versus Baseline. As the project progresses, RMS will track placement and will provide a comparison to the fiscal year projected placement. The user can use the Actual Scheduled Placement tab to update remaining projected placement. The Placement Curve tab displays a graph of projected earnings based upon selected parameters and available data. Based upon the status of the contract and whether any actual invoices have been paid, the options available and the appearance of the curve may be changed. Now, there are three methods available for placement. You have manually entered earnings, user-selected S-curve, or using contractors' activity start or finish dates. Now, each of these will present users with different options and results depending upon whether the contract has begun or not. For example, manually entered projected earnings can only be entered for dates in the future. So keep in mind that if you have actual earnings, they will be used to date. The projected earnings will be used thereafter. Now, the grid shown on this tab reflects both prior payments and projected payments based upon the status of the contract and whether any prior payments have been made. If the user has selected to manually enter projected earnings, this grid will allow these projected earnings to be entered for future months. Manually entered percentages will adjust the earnings curve on rows for future months. Simply enter the percentages in the fields as required. Now we are on the actual versus projected placement tab. This tab compares actual progress with the projected progress and allows the user to make adjustments. There is a button at the bottom to allow the user to copy placement to projected schedule. When clicking on the button, the values in the placement columns are copied into the projected schedule. Okay, the last schedule we'll cover is the feature schedule. To access, open your contract. From the contract menu screen, click on the Schedules tab and then click on the Feature Schedule module. This module populates from a couple different sources, from the Features Added to the Features of Work module and the inspection setup in the 3-phase inspections module. The schedule for each feature can then be entered in this module. As part of the contractor's QC plan, definable features of work for a construction contract are identified by the contractor to plan preparatory, initial, and follow-up inspections of the work. RMS generates a feature schedule by finding the first activity scheduled to start under a feature and the last activity scheduled to be finished under a feature. Actual progress is determined by computing earnings to date on the activities for a feature. Now, most construction contracts, even those with thousands to tens of thousands of work activities, have fewer than 30 features of work. This rolled up feature schedule makes an excellent schedule for easily monitoring the progress on a contract. All contractor activities must be assigned to one and only one definable feature of work. Each definable feature of work may have many activities linked to it. These definable features of work in the quality control plan must match those in the scheduling program. Now, just an NAS Schedules Overview. Now, again, the NAS activity schedule is used to keep track of the actual and scheduled start and finish dates of contract activities and is used to process pay requests. Review of contractor schedule will continue to be outside of RMS using the contractor schedule software. Now, activity schedule can be entered manually or by an SDEF import. The COR can switch between a manually entered schedule or an imported NAS schedule. And the import NAS SDEF schedule into RMS is under the import-export module. After the import of the SDEF, the contractor shall ensure that there are no variances between the sum of activities and CLIN amount and between contract amount and sum of all activities. Lastly, we're going to go over the importing of schedules. You will need to, again, open up your contract, click on the Import/Export tab, and click on the NAS SDEF module. To import an NAS SDEF file, click on the Add button. From the SDEF Data File Import Wizard screen, click on the Select File button and select the text SDEF file. Once selected, click on the Next button. Looking at the screen to the right, you're going to select the file type. And again, it doesn't matter which option is chosen. It's not going to affect the import. You're going to edit the file version if required. You're going to enter the project ID or something meaningful for the name of this imported file. And then lastly, you'll click on the Finish button to advance or the Cancel button to start over. On the SDEF Import File screen, the Activities tab gives you a quick preview of activities and their dates. The Calendars tab gives you a brief view of changes to contractor work week calendars. And the SDEF File tab shows the contents of the SDEF file. If you click on the Preview Data Import into Contract button, you will see the exact changes that will occur with this SDEF import. It's important to note that this button does not import the data into the contract. It's important to review all data in that view prior to importing, as it will tell users what changes this file will make to the contract. We will discuss that view on the next slide. If you click on the Preview Import Earnings into Payment button, you will see what information will be added to the payment. Now, this view is displayed after you click on the Preview Data Import into Contract button shown on the previous slide. The top section has a couple of different messages to look out for. The first is in red, which indicates what is currently in the contract that is going to be deleted, and the message states, "Activity not found in SDEF file. Activity will be deleted." Look carefully for anything in red prior to pushing the import button, as these are items that the SDEF file will be removing. Another note included is that the activity exists -invalid or changes to description or contractor code. Now pay attention to those marked as invalid. Again, they will not be in red, as that means the SDEF file does not have something that is currently listed in RMS. Now, the middle section will show you the details of what is on each individual activity that is selected from the top section. The bottom section is broken up into subcontractor changes, features of work changes, and CLIN changes. Pay attention to anything in red, as this indicates that what is currently in RMS is different than what is listed in the SDEF file. For the file to be imported into the contract, make sure you click on the Import SDEF Data into Contract button. If any data in this view does not match what is expected, then the scheduling software will need to be updated with the correct information, and a new SDEF file will need to be generated and uploaded to RMS prior to continuing. Okay, this view is displayed after you click on the Preview Import Earnings into Payment button shown a couple slides ago. The Import into Invoice button at the bottom of the screen will create the next progress payment based on the information displayed here. Prior to importing into the contract, review all the information here to ensure all data is correct. If the data is not correct, again, the scheduling software will need to be updated with the correct information, and a new SDEF file will need to be generated and uploaded to RMS. Now notice the text in red. Those messages indicate an activity has already been paid, but is not showing in this SDEF file. This is usually because the activity ID number was changed from what was originally in RMS. Those IDs must remain the same for the duration of the contract to ensure proper documentation and payment of activities within RMS. This is commonly the problem when a progress payment has an unexpected negative number associated with it. Okay, lastly, if the SDEF is acceptable, you're going to click on the Approved Request to Import button. Once the SDEF is accepted, the contractor still needs to import the SDEF into the contract. Now, if the SDEF is not acceptable, click on the Reject Request to Import button. So here's a listing of YouTube videos related to schedules that you might find helpful. Okay, so this concludes today's brown bag session. We'd like to thank everyone for attending, and at this time we'll entertain any questions that you might have.
I'm not seeing any questions, so I just want to say thank you very much for attending. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email the RMS PMO. And then also know that we have a YouTube channel where this video is updated, but there's also other video trainings on that that channel that we have. So called the RMS Support Center on YouTube, but you can also find it on our website as well. Anyway, thank you very much for attending, and hope you have a good rest of your day.